Hello, welcome back to the Project Hercules Diaries. This is the last update of 2024. So, stand by. After a lot of procrastination and putting it off and messing around, I finally welded one of the end caps into a piece of tube, just to scrap one in some scrap tube, just to see what the finished result would look like, not having done anything like this before. And I'm going with okay. I think it looks okay. Certainly I didn't set the house on fire. I didn't send anybody blind with arc eye or anything like that. So I'm taking that as a win. It looks okay. Okay isn't really good enough for my mind to go on the bike. But it's certainly a start. So what I elected to do, I drilled a hole in the little slug first. I put it in the lathe and I turned it down. I was originally going to do a top hat like someone suggested, so it would fit snugly and hold itself in place. But in the end, what I decided to do, I turned it down so it fitted inside the tube, and then I had it just sticking out slightly. So there was a 90-degree valley to fill, and I filled that all the way around. The raw weld looked okay. It didn't look great, it looked okay. So I got the linisher out and flatted the whole thing down, because I wanted a that was the look I was after, the spring to sit on a post that was completely flat and a nice crisp sharp edge. What I could do with this, I could put it in the cylindrical grinder to take out the linishing marks. I could put it in the lathe and perhaps put a 45-degree bevel on the side just a bit to take those out, and it does need a skim because it, for some reason, it's not quite straight, not quite square. You can just about see that. It's not far off, but it would benefit from a skim as well. The reason I've linished it so far down is that as the welder was out, you know, once you've got the welder out and the gas on and all the gear on and the batteries in the welding mask and everything, just to do a little weld like that doesn't take long. So you kind of get the bug and you want something else to do. So this was originally two pieces, two tubes. I just pushed the two up together. I didn't do any special prep, didn't make a valley or do any chamfering. I just left the gap and then had to go at welding and filling that gap, and then linishing off the weld when I'd finished. And you can see there's one or two places, I think that's where I managed to blow a hole in it. One or two places are suboptimal, but with a bit more careful polishing and linishing, you could in theory make it look as though it's one continuous tube and there was never two pieces to start with. Inside, I can't really get the camera to focus inside, but it looks like it's gone, you know, most of the way through. And certainly in terms of making an exhaust pipe at some point, which I'd like to do, that's a skill that I need to learn and get a bit more practice at. That's where we're at. So as I say, not quite good enough to go on the bike. And whatever you do, you know, a linisher will always get things looking more presentable, won't it? But whatever I do on the cap and this piece, it still needs to be welded to the frame. And when it does get welded to the frame, that weld there where it intersects the frame, you cannot linish your way out of. If it looks naff, it's going to look naff forever. So what I'll probably do is just tack it in place, and then when I've got a lot more practice, weld it properly, or even just take the whole frame to someone and say, can you, a professional welder, and can you finish that off for us? So that's the plan. It's a lot of work, it's a whole day. Probably some people out there are thinking, God, I could do that in 10 minutes. Well, maybe you could, and if you can, good for you. Right, so that's where I'm at. The tube that I'm planning to use to make the exhaust, that's the tube there. It's not really that much thinner than the tube I've been welding today, so that bodes quite well. Apologies, it's not focusing very well. So that is where we are at. I've had enough now, though. It's getting cold, it's getting late, it's New Year's Eve, and I've not even had a drink yet, so I think it's time to call it a day, call it a night, call it a year even. So just take the opportunity, everyone that's been watching or following, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it, or it's whiled away a few idle minutes when you should be doing something else. It's been a load of fun for me. This year has been fantastic because 2024 is the year that we got that motor to run. and nearly send us all deaf. That video is called Will It Start, and it's been very popular with loads of comments. So if you want to go and look at it again, if you missed it, that's the one to look for on the channel. Next year, I am hoping, fingers crossed, that we will have the bike be able to propel itself down the road to go and stop and turn, and then it will be a case of trying to get it legal and registered and all that type of stuff. Next winter, I imagine it will be coming apart and getting painted and chromed and plated and whatever we decided to do with the finish. So in 26 it should be at a bike rally near you. So that's the plan anyway. So have a great new year. I hope 2024 has been good for you, and I hope 2025 is too. As usual, thank you for watching. Happy New Year. More updates will follow.